The city of Sterling Lights awakens on a spring morning, its gentle sunlight spilling onto sleek, asphalt-paved roads. This is a place where modern opulence blends with a touch of old-world charm scattered around the downtown area. From the grand city hall with towering glass panels to the colorful side streets brimming with illuminated signs, the city bustles with ceaseless activity. At the heart of Sterling Lights resides the Heatherton family, famous for its immense wealth. They own an international hotel chain and numerous luxurious properties stretching from the southern coast's prime real estate to the affluent suburbs. Mrs. Heatherton passed away when her daughter was young, leaving Mr. Edgar Heatherton, a seasoned businessman, to run both the family empire and the household. He had one beloved child, Camilla Heatherton. Camilla grew up swathed in luxury, her every step taken under the care of attentive maids and staff. She was accustomed to having any wish fulfilled instantly. Lavish trips, designer wardrobes, over-the-top parties with high society friends, Camilla never grasped the concept of restraint. In her mind, life was a stage for her to dazzle, while everyone else played the supporting cast. Whenever she found herself in trouble, be it traffic violations or rumors of wild nights at exclusive clubs, her father's money and connections swiftly resolved matters. Camilla thus believed there were no serious repercussions for her actions. In her world, everything could be settled with a check. One Friday night, Camilla attended a grand gala at the five-star Shoreline Palace Hotel, one of her family's flagship properties, where she was treated like a princess. The event ended late, and she left the hotel lobby still flushed from sipping top-shelf wine. Outside awaited her sleek silver sports car, a brand-new Aurora Swift. That evening, she dismissed the family chauffeur, who had been waiting in the car for 4 hours, deciding she would drive herself for a change. She pressed the ignition button, the engine roared stylishly, and pop music blared from the speakers. Driving home, Camilla sped along the quiet residential streets of Daffodil Grove, nearly twice the legal speed limit. Passing under flickering streetlights, she almost struck a young boy crossing the road. The car's brakes screeched, and the child jumped aside just in time, miraculously unscathed. Rather than stop to check if he was all right, Camilla scolded him for getting in her way and accelerated off. At the next intersection, she collided with an older sedan driven by a middle-aged woman, damaging its rear. Her own Aurora Swift only sustained a small scratch. Furious at the cheap old car, Camilla lashed out at the woman instead of apologizing. The commotion brought the police. Realizing the gravity of her reckless driving, they detained Camilla. This time, no one was interested in hush money or sweeping matters under the rug. The case was quickly referred to the district court. 2 weeks later, Camilla was summoned to appear before Sterling Lights Central Court, housed in a building that blended classical architecture with modern lines. Marble pillars framed the entrance, and the hallways featured portraits of important historical figures. Potted plants in each corner added an air of respectful solemnity. On the morning of the hearing, Camilla arrived 15 minutes late. She wore a tight, wine-colored dress under a long fur coat, heavy makeup, and sparkling high heels. Clutching an expensive purse, she also carried her tiny dog, Royal, whose little head peered out, licking the air. Behind her followed a frazzled personal assistant, holding additional accessories for the dog. People in the hall gawked at this lavish spectacle. She looked more ready for a catwalk than a courtroom. While they whispered disapproval, Camilla chewed gum and paused to take a few selfies on her phone. Nothing seemed to faze her. Inside presided Judge Marcus Jones, a tall African-American man wearing a black robe, known for his integrity and stringent adherence to justice. With over 20 years on the bench, he had seen many privileged defendants who tried to flaunt their wealth, yet he could not help frowning at Camilla's brazen entry, late, loud, and seemingly unconcerned. When he signaled for the session to begin, Camilla finally set aside her phone and removed her oversized sunglasses. Her lawyer, Richard Cole, quietly urged her to show respect. She waved him off. "My father can handle this. In a moment, I'll just sign something or he'll sign a check, and we're done." Judge Jones cast a sharp look in her direction. "Ms. Heatherton, this hearing will address your charge of reckless driving endangering others. I expect you to take this seriously." Camila sighed, crossing her legs and openly filing her nails. Many in the gallery gasped at such blatant disregard for decorum. Judge Jones had to speak up. "Ms. Heatherton, I'm instructing you to abide by courtroom rules. Stop any disruptive or disrespectful behavior." Camila glanced up, raising an eyebrow. "Yes, Your Honor." Then she reached into her purse to coddle her dog Royal. A court officer indicated that animals weren't typically allowed. But Camila waved her hand dismissively. "Royal needs to be with me at all times, he's my therapy dog." Though unconvinced, the officer looked to the judge. With a resigned nod, Judge Jones allowed it, albeit with visible displeasure. Beneath her polished exterior, Camila harbored a firm belief that money would sweep away any complications. After all, her father, Mr. Edgar Heatherton, was a powerful figure in Sterling Lights. She was convinced her lawyer and his checkbook could bend any legal matter in her favor. Yet Judge Marcus Jones, a man who grew up in a low-income neighborhood, orphaned at a young age, had climbed the ranks through scholarship and relentless effort. He was deeply committed to ensuring justice applied equally to all, harboring a personal disdain for those who viewed themselves as above the law. Watching Camila chew gum and scroll through her phone during official proceedings only fueled his resolve. He tried to maintain composure, but her careless behavior tested his patience. As did the way she filed her nails and petted her dog in court. As the prosecutor detailed how Camila nearly hit a child, damaged another car, and displayed dangerous speeding, Camila remained either distracted or stifling laughter. She didn't appear to grasp the potential consequences of her actions. Finally, Camila was called to the stand. She strutted forward as though it were a fashion runway, scanning the courtroom audience with blatant disinterest. "Really, nobody got hurt, right? This is just so overblown. I figure a check to cover damages will handle everything. Doesn't everyone here just want a payout?" A hush fell. Tension thickened in the room. Judge Jones took a controlled breath. "Ms. Heatherton, are you aware your driving endangered the lives of others?" Camila shrugged. "Sure, but if they know to stay out of the way, it's fine. Besides, I assume a generous sum should make them happy enough. Why drag this on?" Outraged murmurs echoed across the room. An older man in the audience shouted, "You can't insult justice like that." Camila turned, hurling her own insult. "What do you know, old man?" The prosecutor slammed a hand on the table. Her attorney tried to intervene, but Camila persisted in her arrogance. "I bet this court is hardly the place for someone like me anyway. I'm sure you understand, Judge, having once been treated like an underling. Right? You know your place, don't you?" Her words, laden with a clear racial undertone, made everyone hold their breath. Some in the gallery groaned in disgust. Judge Jones fixed his gaze on her. Voice cold. "Ms. Heatherton, this is your final warning. Don't turn these proceedings into a show of disrespect." She rolled her eyes and returned to her seat, exuding contempt. After hearing statements from both prosecution and defense, Judge Jones took a moment to reflect. The facts were undeniable. Camila had driven recklessly, nearly killing a child, hitting another vehicle, and persistently showed no remorse. He began, his voice firm. "Ms. Camila Heatherton, you drove nearly twice the speed limit in a residential area, nearly struck a child, and caused damage to another car. Your behavior throughout these proceedings reflects a severe lack of responsibility and disregard for the law. This court will impose a heavy sentence." Camila remained confident, certain the outcome would be a hefty fine at most. But the judge continued. "First, you will pay a $60,000 fine, $30,000 for damages to the victims and another $30,000 to the city's traffic safety fund. Second, your driver's license is revoked for 2 years, and you must complete 350 hours of community service, specifically promoting traffic safety at schools and community centers. Finally." He paused, looking straight into her eyes. "You are sentenced to 6 months in Sterling Lights County Jail." The gallery erupted in shock. Attorney Cole turned pale. Camila jumped up, yelling. "What? Jail? You have to be joking. My father won't stand for this." She frantically called her assistant to phone her father. Tears streamed down her face, though her indignation still flared. "It's unfair. I'm not a murderer, nobody died. This was just one small mistake." Judge Jones banged his gavel. "Court is adjourned. Sterling Lights does not tolerate endangering lives. This sentence is necessary for you to realize your responsibility to the community. Money can't erase the harm you caused." That same day, Mr. Edgar Heatherton scrambled to use his vast network in an effort to reduce or overturn the sentence. However, the judge's reputation for integrity, and the public's keen interest in the case, made private interventions nearly impossible. Local residents praised Jones for his firm stance against wealthy lawbreakers. Camila was taken into custody that very afternoon. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of confinement, the cold concrete walls, the barred doors, harsh fluorescent lighting. Gone were designer handbags, glittering jewelry, and top-of-the-line phones. She now wore a drab prison uniform and heavy canvas shoes. She wept and pleaded, but to no avail. The guards showed no sympathy, and other inmates mocked. "A spoiled little princess in here with us." During her first days in jail, Camila clung to the hope that her father's money would free her at any moment. But as time dragged on, she realized her situation was bleak. No one served her every whim or asked, "Yes, Miss Camila." Her daily meals were bland, chores were non-negotiable. Every hour was regulated. She shared a cell with an older inmate named Olivia, imprisoned for shoplifting to provide for her children. Watching Camila sob at night, Olivia gently advised, "Kid, no one here cares who you were on the outside. Learn to cope, or it'll be a lot harder for you." Camila retorted, "What do you know? I'm Camila Heatherton. I don't belong here." Olivia simply sighed. "Maybe you don't really know yourself." That remark left Camila quiet for the rest of the night. For the first time, she faced the possibility that her life of excess had left her unprepared for genuine accountability. After 3 weeks, Camila began fulfilling part of her community service by painting over graffiti and cleaning streets in Daffodil Grove, the very neighborhood she had recklessly driven through. Wearing a reflective vest and gloves, she swept dusty pavements under a harsh sun, hair frizzing in the wind. Local children paused, pointing at her in astonishment or making fun of her. "Look, she's like a Hollywood star playing a street sweeper." It stung, but even that was mild compared to the moment she encountered Mrs. Vanessa, the middle-aged driver whose sedan Camila had rear-ended. As part of a community mediation program, Camila was required to speak with her. Mrs. Vanessa explained how repairs to her sedan had cost her dearly, impacting her livelihood. Hearing this, Camila stood speechless. This cheap old car she had insulted was key to a family's survival. In that short exchange, Camila recognized that money couldn't truly undo the hardship she caused. Though at least the damages would help repair the vehicle. A new crisis occurred in the 4th week of her community service. Camila was assigned to help clean the Orchid House Community Center. There, she met Henry Parks, father of the boy she had nearly run over. A former soldier discharged with a back injury, Henry walked with a limp. He recognized Camila immediately. "You're the one who was speeding like a maniac that night." Camila froze. His gaze was stern, weary. For the first time, she felt real shame. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt your son." Henry folded his arms. "Did you realize that 1 second of your recklessness could have killed my child? That's all it takes." Camila stared at the ground. "I really am sorry. I was too arrogant." He said nothing more, simply handed her a broom and a bucket of paint, instructing her to help repaint the worn, graffiti-covered walls. She spent the day in silence, haunted by the image of almost ending a child's life through her carelessness. Serving time in jail continued, but Camila no longer stirred up trouble. She conformed to prison routine, meager meals, chores, and sleeping on a thin mattress. In the women's block, she learned to hand-wash clothes, scrub floors, and manage trash duty. During her spare moments, she often sat alone, recalling her once glamorous existence as if it were an otherworldly dream. One evening, at a small desk in her cell, Camila picked up pen and paper. She wrote a letter addressed to Judge Marcus Jones, admitting, "I regret the attitude I showed. I realize now I can't fix what I did with money. But I want you to know I'm trying to change." She wasn't sure if the judge would read or respond. But it marked the first time Camila confronted her failures head-on and honestly. While Camila served her sentence, her father, Mr. Edgar, attempted numerous strategies to reduce it. During a visitation, they spoke through a glass partition. She cried upon seeing him, but quickly noticed he still believed a large payout would fix everything. He declared, "I'm getting you out of here, no matter the cost. I can't stand to see my daughter among criminals." Camila simply stared, strangely unmoved by promises of money. Jail time had forced her to see the gap between them. He had always protected her with money instead of teaching her accountability. Quietly, she said, "Dad, I don't want you to do that. I need to stay here and finish this sentence." Shocked, Edgar tried to protest, but Camila shook her head. Tears welled up as she explained, "I've learned that money doesn't keep us safe from consequences. I want to change on my own." Around the 4th month, Camila was assigned to speak at Rosenberg High as part of a youth outreach program on traffic safety and the law. She arrived wearing her prison-issued uniform and an ID badge labeled Inmate, Community Service. Hundreds of teenagers packed the school auditorium, staring curiously at the glamorous young woman who was introduced as a convicted inmate. An anxious hush spread until someone asked, "Are you really a criminal? Why are you talking to us?" Camila hesitated, unaccustomed to sharing her story from a position of wrongdoing. But memories of nearly harming that little boy spurred her forward. She cleared her throat. "A single moment of recklessness can destroy many lives, including your own. I was so sure nothing bad would happen to me. But I was wrong. And here I am, hoping my story helps you avoid making the same mistakes." The students listened intently. Some eyes went wide at the realization that the beautiful, rich girl was in fact a prisoner. Camila's own eyes misted with tears. Most people think tragic accidents happen to someone else, until it's too late. Please value others' lives and your own. Applause soon rippled through the crowd. This was not the usual adoration Camila was accustomed to at glamorous parties. It felt more genuine, an appreciation of her honesty. And for the first time, she felt a sense of warmth and purpose. After the talk, local news outlets ran brief segments on Camila's story, titled, "Rich Heiress Undergoing Reform Warns Teens About Reckless Driving." It was her first public appearance, not as a wealthy socialite, but as someone earnestly repenting. Judge Marcus Jones heard of her progress. One afternoon, he visited the county jail alongside a prosecutor, observing inmate activities. Camila recognized him walking by the exercise yard. She called out respectfully. He saw her wearing the plain inmate uniform, hair tied back, sweat on her brow, and realized how drastically she had changed since her first day in court. He offered a brief nod, said nothing, and left. Yet Camila caught a softer glance in his eye, as if acknowledging her growth. After completing her 6-month sentence and 350 community service hours, Camila was finally released. On that day, a sudden rain shower cooled the sweltering early summer sun. She stood beneath a tree near the prison gate, wearing simple clothing rather than high-fashion attire. A small bag contained her few belongings. Mr. Edgar Heatherton waited outside, pacing near his car. Upon seeing her, he rushed forward hesitantly. Camila met him, tears mingling with raindrops. Edgar pulled her into a hug. "I'm so sorry. I never taught you how to face your mistakes. I always fixed your problems with money, and it only hurt you in the long run." Trembling, Camila hugged him back. "I share the blame. I never tried to understand anyone else's struggles. I see that now, and I want to be different." In the weeks following her release, Camila quietly engaged in charity work at local community centers and continued advocating for traffic safety, still carrying a pang of guilt. One morning, while cleaning an old storage room at the center, her assistant handed her an envelope bearing the Sterling Lights court seal. Inside was a brief note. "Ms. Camila Heatherton, I received your letter and have heard of your current efforts. It's never too late to correct one's path. I hope you continue to live responsibly, uphold the law, and care for your community. Sincerely, Marcus Jones." Reading it, Camila exhaled shakily, eyes filling with tears of relief. Though terse, it felt like validation from the very man whose verdict had once ruined her life. Now she realized it was that punishment which spurred her to become truly responsible.